Hey Sam, how you doing?
Good. How's it going?
You going well? Did you have a nice Father's Day?
I did. You?
We don't really do anything. I don't
No,
even know how to
you
celebrate.
you don't observe?
We don't observe.
No.
I feel like every day's Father's Day in my
I
house.
got one card. I've got two daughters, one card. So that
Uh,
was it was sweet.
that's better than I got. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let me set this series up. All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of More from Sam. As a reminder, the goal of the series is to get more from Sam on current events more often, and also to share a more fun side of Sam. Sam, you have a fun side. Plenty of heavy shit to discuss, but in this series, we're allowed to have fun doing it. The tone is faster paced, which includes interruptions because they create more energy. I'm here to surface Sam's ideas, so don't get caught up on what you think my actual positions might be. It doesn't matter. Everybody loves a spicy Sam, so I'm going to do what I can to get more of that. And lastly, this series is
Luck.
not meant to be, thank you. It's not meant to be a replacement for anything. It's simply in addition to what Sam is already doing. Also, Sam has some tour dates coming up this fall that have already been announced. New York and Boston in October are nearly sold out. I think there are about 100 tickets last I checked in each of those cities.
Mhm.
And Seattle, and nice job, Sam. Well done. Thanks to all those in New York and Boston who have quickly bought tickets. And Seattle and San Jose in September are each a little over 50% sold as well. So if you want tickets to any of those shows, you can head over to samharris.org. Also, we're about to announce Chicago. So that's coming this
Nice.
week. In order to get, yeah, it should be fun. In order to get access to the pre-sale, you must be a paid subscriber to the podcast, and then there'll be a general on sale shortly thereafter. Anyway, all this info can be found on the website. And if you're on the mailing list, be on the lookout for something coming very soon. Sam, are there any quick thoughts on these shows you can share with us? Something the audience should,
Just that I'm looking forward to them. I'm
yeah,
going to write a talk, and so the first hour will not be extemporaneous. I mean, maybe I'll say something. There'll be some marginalia as I work from what I've prepared, but no, I'm actually going into this wanting to put my thoughts in order, and I love the excuse to be able to do that. So it feels almost like I have to write a short book between now and then, but I will do that, and
yeah.
I'll come prepared to tell people what I'm thinking about.
Well, that'll be fun. And then the
Yeah,
second half, we'll do an episode of More from Sam, this kind of vibe where we can
yeah, yeah.
incorporate some of the
I mean, I
current
think what I
events.
want to do is I want to field the questions in advance that we know are most pressing. I mean, especially things that I have said or failed to say that
Yeah,
the audience finds most galling. So I just we'll get the hardest questions, and one I'll probably anticipate some of those in my talk, but we'll store them up for each event and deal with them,
yeah.
in the second hour too. So
Well, we'll do that. That's what we do for every episode here, so that shouldn't be too hard. All right, so there's no shortage of things to cover on this episode, so let's get into it. I want to start with the political violence that took place this past weekend in Minneapolis, where a state representative and her husband were murdered in their home, and a state senator and his wife were shot multiple times at their house and have thankfully survived. You got Trump, Josh Shapiro, two employees at the Israeli embassy, and you could throw in the United Healthcare CEO as well. What's going on with the explosion of political violence, and is this a new norm we should come to expect?
well, I mean, it's obviously awful. It's also mimetic. I mean, we know that people um, find this kind of the kind of notoriety that shooters get is somewhat contagious, right? So we've had episodes like this before in our past. I mean, not for a very long time, but obviously the late '60s was a time where we were sort of in free fall with respect to assassinations. Um, I mean, it's awful. I think the thing that is. I mean, the only governor we have on it, apart from catching people and or providing great security so as to make it effectively impossible, uh, is to shun any political rhetoric that directly inspires this kind of behavior. And unfortunately, both sides, not both sides equally, but both sides have at various points tipped over into ways of speaking about their political opponents that have been totally irresponsible. And I would put Trump at the top of this list of people who has been um,
Who's got the
and kind
timer?
of
How long did it take to bring Trump up there?
well, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
yeah, but it's just the fact that here's somebody
No, of
who
course. I can.
has normalized political violence in several respects. I mean, his response to January 6th was a great act of normalization. You have people who are literally stabbing cops in the face with flagpoles, and they've been exonerated as American heroes. Um, it's yeah, all of that is part of what has pushed us to this
Yeah.
moment, I think. So,
Well, I mean, I don't do you think we have to doge our the way that we treat these people instead of letting them become celebrities so quickly? Can't we just, find these people that commit these heinous acts and disappear them very quickly?
well, we try to do that. I mean, sometimes uh, better than others, but I mean, we did that effectively with, at least to my eye, we did that with the shooter for who tried to kill Trump. I mean, as evidenced by the fact that I can't even remember his name. Um,
Yeah. Well, I think he was just killed right there on the spot. I think that's what
yeah,
happened.
but like we haven't talked about him. He's not a martyr to any cause. In fact, we don't even, I don't happen to know much about what his cause was. I mean, how much was mental illness and how much was an actual ideological motivation. We've been better in recent years about doing that. You know, whether it's political violence or just violence. I mean, the Vegas shooter who still killed more people than any shooter in American history. Again, I've forgotten his name. I once knew it, but that was memory hold within like 72 hours of the occurrence. Uh, so I think we're getting better at it. But the way we are talking about our politics, I think is just it's not reminiscent of any recent period in American history. I mean, we're so uncivil. I mean, this is of a piece with a U.S. senator being, wrestled to the ground and handcuffed at a press conference
Yeah,
for
it was awful.
Kristi Noem, right? I mean, like, and the fact that his Republican colleagues in the Senate didn't immediately, or Congress didn't immediately condemn that. In fact, some of them lined up on the other side and castigated him for, some impropriety that they thought warranted his manhandling there. Um, it's I mean, civility. The thing that we're not recognizing is that civility is the last stop before violence, right? I
Yeah.
mean, the civility is not just a nice to have; it's really a must have when you're talking about uh, uh, discussing politically polarizing issues.
Yeah. Well, I wanna get to Alex Padilla and a little bit of that later because I do think what he did, perhaps had some impact, on changing the course of events there. It seems that that's been walked back, but we'll get back to that in a
Mm,
bit. But um, or the ICE raids have been walked back because of the idea that apparently it's impacting the farming industry and the hotel industries, the
yeah, I
hospitality
wonder
industry.
what
Like,
those phone calls
yeah,
were
like,
like.
well, no
Yeah.
shit. I mean, what a dummy. Like, how obvious was that for him to say?
Yeah, but also how dysfunctional is it that really what accomplished this change in policy undoubtedly were a bunch of rich friends of the
Of course,
president calling and saying, "Listen, you're fucking up my hotel business."
this
This,
had nothing to do with the humanity of it.
yeah, it's had nothing to do with with wisdom or pragmatism or ethics or anything. It's just pure patronage. I mean, this is what is turning us into a banana republic, right? This is what Trump has done is he's put himself at the bottleneck of everything, and he's using both domestic and foreign policy to dole out favors and to friends and punish enemies, right? And no one, I mean, the thing that is so despicable about the Republicans now is that no one objects to this. I mean, that's what was amazing to see in the falling out with Elon. When you have all these people who many of whom are welcoming Elon back into the fold. I mean, just desperate to patch up this marriage, um, and yet they're not acknowledging how uh, um, corrosive it is to have a president who immediately goes to, if Elon supports any Democrats, there'll be extraordinary consequences. Right? He's threatening him with what, a judicial investigation or loss of contracts. He's using the levers of government power to say that his former friend shouldn't
Yeah,
fund political opposition in this country, and everyone on the Republican side accepts that
right.
as somehow normal. This is, you know, authoritarian is the generic term for it. I mean, this is not remotely normal in American politics.
No, no, no. Well, you talked about while we're talking about Musk in your recent Substack piece, you torched him, and this is something you and I were talking about
Mhm,
earlier. That it he, Musk has admitted that he went overboard with something that resembled, I guess, an apology on Twitter. But what he's saying here really matters. I mean, we shouldn't be quick to forget what he's basically saying. He's saying that he's either someone who has no morals, who just was happy to work with Trump, who was a rapist, your child rapist, and he was
mhm.
just fine because, well, he had shared interests, or he completely made up an insane lie about his friend, someone who he loved as much as any man could love another.
Mhm.
So either way, and the reason why I think it matters is because according to your latest podcast, I think was it Daniel or yeah, I forget
Yeah.
his last name. You just spoke to about AI. Um, One of these guys could very soon become the leader of the most powerful AI army in the world, and we should care about the character of these individuals.
Yeah, I don't know how we got here, but we seem to have at least half of our society seems to think that the personal integrity of the most powerful people in our society doesn't matter, right? It's just like it doesn't make like you can have the most self-interested, unethical people you can find, give them basically all the power human beings can have, and nothing goes you could just expect everything to work fine. Now, it would be great to have systems, to have laws and institutions that were totally impervious to bad actors. I mean, that would be the dream. It's an unrealistic one. Clearly, we don't have anything like that currently in the US government. Um, so it matters whether psychologically normal, at a minimum, psychologically normal people are in charge, right? And we just don't have that. We have narcissists and liars and confabulators and in certain cases, I think mentally unstable people.
But I think a lot of times when you talk like that, people think you exaggerate. But right here, we saw Elon Musk, and we know
Well, yeah, even on the
what
president's account, he went crazy, right?
right.
So he's unstable. I mean, I think most people will admit that at a minimum he's unstable. Um,
But like these are the two worst options.
but he's
Like
yeah, but yes, those two interpretations of Elon's character. One, he was happy to collaborate with a person he knew to be a child rapist or an enabler of child rape. Or two, he was willing to claim that a person who is his favorite person on earth 10 minutes ago was a child rapist the moment their interests were no longer aligned. You pick your favorite interpretation of his character there
right.
because that exhausts the possibilities. Um,
But why isn't that being
it,
talked about more?
because again, right of center, nobody cares about a person's character. They care about Hunter Biden's character, apparently, right? They care about whether Joe Biden's um, inner circle knew that he wasn't compos mentis and were letting the country have a somewhat vacant presidency or a presidency by committee, right? That strikes them as just adjacent to evil. But nothing on their own side matters, including I mean, they were completely unfazed. The people who thought Elon was this absolutely impeccable omnibus genius, when he alleged that, mark my words, Trump is a child rapist. In so many words, he alleged that. He doubled down on that tweet, said, just flag this tweet, flag this post,
Right.
come back to this post, mark this post, however he put it. The truth will come out, right? He's claiming to have certain knowledge of Trump's criminal culpability, right? All these people who were up to that moment thought Elon could do no wrong. What did they think? Did any of them care? And these are also people. The irony here is that these are also people who are disproportionately fixated on the problem of pedophilia, right? I mean, they think half of them think there's a pedophile cult running the world. They certainly don't think Epstein killed himself. They think lots of powerful people are culpable for an immense cover up there. And to hear that Elon knows and promises you that you will know soon, if you just watch this space, you soon will know that Trump is one of these sinister rapists or enablers of rapists. Um, how many of them cared? Where were the Jack Posobiec's and the Charlie Kirks and the other grifters and confabulists, the Pizzagate dummies, the Mike Cernoviches? Where were they? Like, where what how did they not jump into that space one way or the other? Either Elon is lying and he's pure evil. He's smearing the president with the worst aspersion that can be summoned to a human mind, and or you trust Elon because goddamn, he knows everything and he's been on the inside and he has all the data, and you sorta know anyway that Trump is like this. You know he was friends with Epstein for many, many years. You know he celebrated Epstein's sexual conquests and even named the fact that he likes his ladies young. He said that some people say that he likes beautiful women even more than I do, and sure likes them young, right? That's practically verbatim, right? You know that in his 60s, probably, he was storming the dressing rooms of teenage girls at the Miss America pageant. You know that he's just right on the edge of doing this anyway, all by himself, right? And yet, who cared, right? This is, I mean, it's not even hypocrisy. It's just a complete vacancy of a moral sensibility, right of center now.
They rightly care about lawlessness too,
Oh yeah, yeah.
except
Only
for
one
when
side,
it's January
only on one
6th.
side. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So
But I mean, but that I don't know. I mean, one can imagine it's gonna normalize at some point. I think part of it is the characters we have in play. I don't know that you can get a delusional cult under somebody like JD Vance, but I'm
yeah.
sure the Republicans will give it a good hard try.
All right, switching gears. Let's talk about Israel and Iran. Any early thoughts on that?
Well, it's not gonna surprise you that I think that they are fighting our war in some respect. I mean, they're fighting their own war too, because a nuclear-armed Iran is definitely an existential concern for them. And if you doubt that, you just haven't been paying attention to what Iran has said for the last 20 plus years. I mean, the Iranian regime is explicitly a theocratic death cult. I mean, this is a jihadist regime of the Shiite variety that has had as its special focus for years and years the eradication of Israel. And so this is not a metaphor for anything. Once we get a bomb, we're going to turn Israel into glass, right? And um, I think the Israelis have to take that threat at face value. I mean, I think the lesson that the world should learn is that if you are going to be explicit in your genocidal aspirations, your neighbors, whoever you're targeting with these malicious hopes, your neighbors are justified in coming across your border and killing the principal bad actors, right? I mean, that's just but I mean, words matter, right? And so if you're bluffing, it's on you to prove to not do that again, right? It's just so I think it's completely warranted. I think I mean this is a commercial for what we should have done years ago. We
Right.
being the United States.
And you think the Iranians would use a nuke? No doubt about it if they got it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, one, if they didn't use a nuke, if they just had them, I think